Hi, and welcome. My name is Garrett Wozny. I'm an artificial skills intelligence advisor to accountants all over the world. What a session we have for you today. We're going to be talking about ChatGPT for advanced accounting research. Here's the agenda, the rundown, the itinerary. We're going to talk about AI search and how it compares and contrasts with traditional Google search and what are the key advantages of AI search versus Google. We'll look at the Great 8 AI for research. There's at least 8 different tools. There's much more to searching AI than using ChatGPT. There's a number of other platforms you should be aware of. We'll talk about this concept called persona search, where you can activate and manifest this expert persona on any topic. It can really elevate your searches beyond the surface. And then how you could take that persona search and then you could automate that and you can set up a recurring folder. And then we'll look at the deep research where you can get these investor or this big 4 analyst grade research topics that, or assignments or research outputs that would normally take weeks and cost you tens of thousands of dollars. You can do that in minutes using a deep research technique tool across several platforms. We'll look at a tool called Schedule Task, where you can do all this recon and schedule and intelligence on any topic and do daily or weekly updates, whatever you want. And then we'll talk briefly about Notebook, where you could take any document that you want or any context or a website or a YouTube video, and you can start talking to it. And we'll wrap it up with some key takeaways. So after today's session, I guarantee you are going to be in the top 1% of accounting and finance researchers. It's going to elevate your research game to a whole new level. So let's begin. Let's start with comparing traditional searching for decades almost. People have turned to Google for their searching. And so you may want to say, well, why would I want to start using AI? Well, I'll tell you why. There's a whole bunch of reasons why artificial intelligence tools can provide superior results. One of the things is that it's great at interpreting intent. And you could just give it a whole bunch of messy notes in natural language. And you don't really have to think in keywords so much. For example, you'll go to Google, and where are we here? We go to google.com, and let's just say anything. Just say, tax regs in California or Canada or whatever jurisdiction you're looking at. California. And it's thinking in those keywords. And what you're seeing really here is you're not really getting an answer per se. It's just links to where the information might be found. Okay. And that's it. Here's a quick little tip, is that when you're using Google now, you have that option of using AI. They have an AI mode. Check it out on the upper left-hand corner. So when you are in Google searching you're looking for any kind of information, there's the standard results here. And you can scroll across. I want the latest news. I want the latest images. I want the latest videos. Is there any forums I should be aware of? Often people don't realize that when you are in Google, look across the top and there's these other tabs that lead you to other locations of information, which is really good. So that's a whole nother story, but just be aware of, when you are in Google, be aware of these different tabs that link you to other content. But to the left is the AI mode. And then here, this will hook you up to the Gemini platform, and here you can search. So so even if you are using Google or have used Google, check out the AI mode, and then you're going to get the benefits of that. Okay. But the point being here is that when you're using AI, you can get those direct answers. So let's just take that same prompt, and let's just go to ChatGPT, for example, here, and you go to tax regs in, let's just say Ontario, or any jurisdiction you want, anywhere in the world. And then here, you're getting not just a list of links, you're getting the direct answer. Or you could go to ChatGPT and you'd type in tax regs in Florida. Whatever city, province, state, country, doesn't matter. So that's one of the great benefits of AI, is that it messy notes. You don't really have to think in keywords so much. Also, you can do all these multi-turn follow-ups, right? Where in Google, for example, when you do a search, it's just like a goldfish. You finish that one search, and then when you start a new search, it just starts from scratch. So here we have tax regs in California, and then let's say compare with other jurisdictions. Okay, just jurisdictions. And then what? Google doesn't, it just starts from scratch. It doesn't remember that you had asked that previous query. Whereas in the large language models in ChatGPT, it does. So here we get that first answer, and then we could just say, compare with similar jurisdictions. Okay, and it has that in its memory bank. So great question. Let's compare Ontario with similar provinces. Or we could just say compare with similar jurisdictions. Right? So it has that built-in memory jurisdictions. And you can have that multi-turn analysis, compare only US sources, only Canadian sources, or you could say things like, let me just going down here. Also, just explain it like I'm in grade 5. So there's all these different lenses and requests that you can engage with in AI that you can't with Google. Okay. And also it gives you, as we've seen, it gives you that direct answer. It doesn't give you a list of links where the information might be found, right? It goes right to the answer saying, okay, what are the regs in Florida or Ontario or Manitoba or Saskatchewan or North Dakota, whatever you want. And it cuts straight to the chase, right? You're not saying, okay, I have to go to these different, I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to go there. Does it work? Maybe it's there, maybe it's not, but it just serves it up right away. Okay. And then it will look into, just related to that, it will combine, organize, synthesize, integrate different sources into one output right here. So with Google, we have all these different links we have to check out on our own. And it's on us to check out each one, which is it relevant or not, find out the ones that we think, find out the information in there that is most relevant, and then bring it back and then compare and contrast it with other links that Google has given us, where all those steps, it's already taken. The AI has already embraced that. It's already looked at these different sources and then pulled them together for us. So that is a big time saver. Another benefit too is that you can request of the AI. I want different types of outputs. For example, when you're searching for something, you say, okay, I want it in a checklist format. I wanted a list of pros and cons. I want a list of step plans. So for example, here we have that list of the tax regs across these different states. So what you could say here is that you could say, compare results in drop-down table format. Okay. So you get to choose what you see. You get to ask AI, okay, this is the information that I want, but this is how I want you to present it. So here it has this table that shows comparable states, right? So that's something whereas with Google, you can't, right? It's just you have these 10 blue links and you click on each link, but with ChatGPT, you could say, what exactly do you want it to appear and look like? I want a list of a drop-down table format. Or I could say, I want pros and cons. So here is, let's look at the state. And you notice here too, this is relatively new, is that they're adding pictures now. So it's become much more visually engaging than it had in the past. Whereas you don't get that with Google. So you get to control that experience and that output, that framework. It's almost like surfing it's very much like these brochure and multimedia rich results that you wouldn't get with Google, where it's just all straight text and you click on that. Whereas with more and more of the results in AI, you have, in this case, the pictures, and I wouldn't be at all surprised very shortly they'll have the videos in there as well. Okay, so that's another big benefit of the AI. Or you could just say, give me some pros and cons, or you could just say, step by step plans to start a business or something in each state or a province or a city or a county or a municipality, whatever question that you have, you can throw it at it and it just instantly picks up on what that context is, and then it will present it in that particular format, this drop-down table format. So there's much more greater flexibility in that. Also, too, they'll have, not always, but they'll have the citations in the results, where they'll show you, okay, exactly where do they get this information from? And in this case, they don't, where they'll have a footnote listed here. But if they don't have it there, you could just say, hey, cite citations, or just list citations and sources. So that's always one way to demonstrate exactly where you got that information from, or where it drawed that information from. So here are the primary government sources that promote the formation steps. So that's a very powerful prompt, is just what are your sources, and then it will give you, and you can click on these to get that more information. So again, much more dynamic experience. Okay, another benefit too of using the large language models is that you can search your own material. Maybe you have an internal policy, maybe it's a PDF, there's some notes that you have, and you could upload it onto ChatGPT. And then what the AI uses, it's a process called retrieval augmented generation. Retrieval augmented generation. It's like a fancy word, or RAG for short. But what it is, it's a framework within AI that what you do is you say, hey, AI, here's my own PDF, and this is an authoritative knowledge base. And then what the AI will do is say, okay, let's look at that specific output. Let's build our answer related to that particular document. So the great thing about using RAG is that it will reduce hallucinations, and it will ground the answers in that retrieved document. Like sometimes when you're using AI, it will make stuff up, and it can be wrong, and confidently wrong too. It's just the way it's worded, so you have to be very careful on that front. And whereas if you upload your own document, that everything in that you have there, it's true. So you're almost like creating your old walled garden, where you're saying to ChatGPT, okay, I want you to focus in on just this document. And we'll call up a document here, and let me just call it my PDF. And you could just say, here, take a second to load up, and just say, search this. Or you don't have to say search this, just 10 key takeaways. And you can analyze that your own document, or any document that you have, and it will ground the results in the context of just that particular report. So you notice here the citation it's saying, okay, this is where we got that information from. And it comes back with the answer. Okay, so that's really cool. So you can search your own stuff. And then also that, we alluded to it earlier, is that it compresses that research time. Whereas with Google, you're going back and forth and you're clicking on the different links, and does this link, Google has this list of links where the information might be found, and you go there and it's not there exactly, and you're going this back and forth. But the great thing is that AI will put all that together. It will take all these different sources, it will synthesize and integrate them, put that into a final answer, and then that will accelerate that workflow. Okay, so those are just some of the reasons that AI is superior. But that said, though, Google can still be better when you're looking for a specific site, a specific page, or maybe there is some information you're trying to find a store. Maybe there's some, you're trying to find map or shopping hours, for example, or what's in stock. In some cases, Google might be better when you're looking at it from this local commercial intent. Right? Okay. And also, ideally, you want to use both. You could use AI to draft an answer. You could use it to do some search, some high-level search, and get the general gist or the main narrative on there. And then you could then go to Google and say, okay, well, there was all these citations and all these claims in Google, or sorry, in the report that the AI made, but is it true or not? So it's like this dual framework where I'll get AI to, examine a report, and then sometimes it'll cite cases, and I'll go, okay, is that a real case or did AI make that up? So any kind of client-facing citation that you want to corroborate with, it's important that you go to Google to say, hey, is this a real case or not? And if the AI doesn't either cite that source clearly, in some cases you have to treat it as a hypothesis, not really a conclusion. So those are some ways that you should be aware of that AI is superior to Google. Okay, another question that comes up all the time is people say, okay, well, I want to start using AI, and they think automatically by default, they'll think, oh, ChatGPT. That's the only game in town. They think that. Or another question I get all the time is, well, Garrett, which is the best one for searching, or which is the best one for tax or accounting or finance? Well, to be honest, there is really no single best one for any kind of accounting research. There's at least 8. I call them the great 8, that in terms of what I have found most useful for accounting and tax research. And each one has different cognitive strengths. Some are really good at drafting or long form review. And ideally, the best research strategy is not really choosing one tool, but you want to orchestrate and integrate multiple of these AIs. So it really should function as this layered support system. At the end of the day, you are in control. Final judgment always remains human. Never forget that, ever, ever, ever. Right? AI enabled, but human verified. So here are just very quickly what I believe are the best 8. And you might want to, whenever you're doing any kind of research, that you might want to rotate through them all and just see what kind of different perspectives that they have. The first one, of course, everyone knows, the big show, and that's ChatGPT. And where it's great, it's really good at creativity. And it's able to convert this complex regulations into these frameworks that you can understand. You can draft policies in plain language. You can get all these different multi-perspective reasoning. You can say, okay, here's the latest tax regulations, but I want you to look at it from the perspective of a auditor or a risk officer. Right? So it can, it just shines, it balances that creative side and that very fluent side with analytical reasoning. And it's really good at taking these maybe ambiguous, uncertain, or messy notes and then putting them into structured outputs that you can understand. So that's ChatGPT. And you could figure that out. So on here, we'll just say, what are the latest tax law changes in, we'll just say in Illinois, or province or city, jurisdiction, whatever you want. And here it'll come back. And then in this case, they do have the citations that are listed. And here you can just check up to see where that is, where they got that from. So that's good, where it will take, you can throw at that general question at it and is able to convert that into a list of information sources that you can start using. Excellent. Okay. So that's ChatGPT. But then you got Claude. And Claude, it's where it really shines is in long documents, policy manuals, contracts. It can flag logical gaps, these different inconsistencies within a document. And it's really good. It will maintain tone, coherence across different large files. So any kind of long form analysis that you want to do, you want to check out Claude. And another consideration too, I know a lot of accountants say, well, Garrett, I only want to pay, I don't want to pay anything for artificial intelligence. I just want to get the free versions. Well, you get what you pay for. And I would argue that, well, it's not a question of arguing, is that if you're using any of these tools for client-facing work, you want to be getting the enterprise versions of them. You don't want to be using free versions. You do not want to be inputting client work, sensitive work, client data into free versions. That's a no-no. You want to be using the paid versions, like ChatGPT, for example. Here, the ChatGPT pricing. And they have, 6 different pricing tiers? Yeah, they have for personal, but for business, this is what you'd want to use the business for. And the reason here is that there's no training on your business data. They're in compliance with all these different internet and security and privacy regulations from not just the United States and Canada, but all over the world. The General Data Protection Regulations of the European Union, the California Consumer Privacy Act, Cloud Security, CSA Star, Systems and Organizational Control Type 2. So all these dedicated, specialized, secure protocols that they have in place when you have the business. So ideally, when you're using any of these platforms that we're talking about, the Great 8, you want to be using the business versions of them. So with ChatGPT, Claude is another one. And then Gemini, this is one by Google. And the reason you want to use Gemini, it's integrated within Google, of course, so that they're masters at search. They're great at pulling out all these web-connected sources. And it's really strong when it's embedded in these Google environments. So for example, here, let's just go on to Gemini. So, well, first of all, Gemini is already built into Google. So when you are using Google, you'll have the AI mode. You can click on that anytime, and you can access that as part of your Google experience. So here you could just say, tax regs in California, and then click on AI mode here, and then you can access Gemini there. But also, you can access it in your other tools as well. So you go to Gemini, and here's the Gemini tool on here. And then here, you could just do our regular searches, tax regs in California on here. And we'll click on this. And then you'll get those answers on here. But also, too, they'll have the ability to integrate with other types of Google products. So when you're in Gemini and you click on the @ sign, this is really cool. Hold on here. @ sign. You now can say, hey, Gemini, I want you to focus just on my Google Calendar. I want you to just search and analyze my Gmail, or I want to analyze my Google Drive, or I want to analyze my different parts of my YouTube. Right? So there's that tight integration with your other Google products. If you are using Calendar, Tasks, Docs, Drive, YouTube Music, so that's another strong element of Gemini. Then you have Grok. Okay, and that's really strong as well. And on here, the great thing about Grok is that it's this situational radar. You're going to get all these real-time industry conversations and trending issues, and you're going to get these current public sentiment signals. So in terms of the one that's the AI that's measuring what's going on, like the pulse of what's going on, like right now, this is what you want to be using. It's the Grok tool. And that, of course, is Elon Musk. And here you could just say, tax regs in just Ontario or something. And you can click on this, and then here you'll get the latest as of the current date, which is incredible. So it's like literally right up to that day. And here are the different sources. We got like 80 sources listed here, and it will search the web. It also searches what's going on the X platform. So what are people, all the different conversations that are taking place. So if you want to get that snapshot of what's going on literally right in that moment, what's happened that day, that week, this is where you're going to get that. You're going to get that in Grok. So real time, that's what Grok is for. Okay, another one. This is out of China, but it was recently purchased by Meta, which is formerly Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, and they realized how good it is. And what it is, it's this agent tool that will perform all these multi-step research tasks. So it's more about execution than conversation. So if you never try to check it out, it's really, really good. Excellent. But that's another tool. It's called Manus. And again, it's from Meta. Meta usually buy them out. And you could ask it to do any kind of task, and you could say, just tax regs in, let's just say, in North Dakota, or any jurisdiction, or any question you could have related to finance. And then what it will do, it'll come back with these clarifying questions. What type of tax you're interested in? And we'll just say one. So that tells you something right there, where unlike the other robots, they just will take whatever you give to it and just kind of run with it and say, okay, this is what we think your intent was. Manus will clarify, say, whoa, we'll hit the pause button. This is what you asked, but we just want to absolutely confirm what is it exactly you're seeking. And in this case, what type of tax you're interested in, we'll just say corporate. And what is your purpose? Let's just say business owner. Business owner. And we'll click on that. And we'll click on Manus. So here it's thinking, and it's going to gather information. Okay, one thing about Manus, though, is that you're not going to get that instant answer. It may take a little bit of time to get that. So when I say a little bit of time, it could be anywhere from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And also here, one thing that's cool about Manus is that they have their own, it shows that they have their own browser window that you can open up. And it shows you what they're doing in that moment. So it's searching for you, and you can just see. So it's very transparent what Manus is doing to gather that information. So here it's gathering all this information here, and it's reading the different documents, and it's pulling it together. And after, I don't know how long this is going to take, but anywhere from 10 seconds to some cases, it could take like 30 minutes. It'll come back with that complete answer. So Manus is really powerful for that multi-step analysis. Any question you could throw at it, and it will come and provide that answer for you. I mean, that's why Meta snapped it up. I'm surprised another big company hadn't done that sooner, but that's kind of like a blind spot. Not many accountants use that, but check it out. Manus is really good. And then, of course, there's Copilot from Microsoft, and where it shines, of course, is its integration within the Microsoft 365 universe, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, Outlook. So it's really great at that enterprise retrieval system. Let's go to Microsoft Copilot here. Oh yeah, one thing too is that when you are in Microsoft, as in all the other tools as well, there's different like cognitive gears that they have. And this is what I mean. So when you're in Copilot, they'll say, you could ask it a question here, and then you could say, okay, it'll ask you, well, okay, what gear do you want us to analyze this question? Do you want it to be like really, it could be really quick, or you'll have ones where you can kick in a higher gear where it's like thinks deeply or quickly based on the task. So this is almost like a model where you give it an answer, and depending upon the context of the question, it will route it to a specific type of gear. That's what smart is. Like it takes that question and then it decides on its own, well, should we use it? Should we put it to a higher gear or not? So this is like smart is, I don't think it's a wrong word for it. I think it's automatic. Should be a better tool for that. But what they're saying is what's smart is that you give it a query and then it's smart enough to figure out how deep it should go. But the great thing about Copilot is that you can say, okay, no. I don't want you to tell me what gear you should be in. You could say, I want it to think deeper. And when you click on think deeper, that mode is activated and you see that little card that's listed there. Or in this case, they'll have study and learn. And this one, you can use it to be honest with you, I found that's not really effective for accounts. With accounts, you want to learn. You want to get that information as quickly as you can and with as much accuracy as you can. Whereas study and learn, they'll give you part of the answer and then they'll come back with some other questions. I mean, that's useful when you're trying to educate yourself in autodidactic on that front. But I find an accounting or a finance professional, I guess maybe if you're just trying to learn a particular topic, that's a useful mode. But if you're just doing general research, that could be frustrating. Or you can click on search, and that search, they'll have enhanced references. And again, we'll just type in tax regs in South Dakota, or Manitoba, or Saskatchewan, or British Columbia, or Alberta, whatever we want. Here we're verifying this and verifying I'm human. Last time I checked, I was. And we'll click on here, and it's coming through. So yeah, here's a clear grounded view of tax regulations. And you notice here they'll have the citations listed here, the key points. And just to verify that, you can click on that. So here they go into great detail, right? So that's the Microsoft. Oh, and just as with Microsoft, remember there's the different modes you can click on, is that all of them have the same choices. Like you go to ChatGPT, for example, and in the upper left-hand corner here, you could say, I want instant, or I could say auto, which is automatic. And here, what you do is whenever you click on automatic, it'll automatically route it, depending on the context of the question, to one of their, they'll say, well, this is something we can answer really quickly, the instant one, or this is going to take a little bit of time. We'll click on thinking. And one thing about thinking, though, too, is that with thinking, there is actually different degrees of thinking. So when you click on thinking, do you want light thinking? Do you want standard thinking? Do you want extended thinking? Do you want heavy thinking? Right? So there's all these gradations of time. And the whole point of this is that it's a trade-off, right? Do you want that answer really quickly? You click on instant. But if you wanted to do more deeper logical and reasoning, then you're going to have to wait, right? It's going to be anywhere from 10 seconds to some cases, 15, 20 minutes, right? So there's that trade-off. The great thing about Google is that you get that instant answer. You get those 10 blue links within a fraction of a second. And with AI, you have to manage your expectations depending on what gear that you want. Okay, so that's ChatGPT. And Claude is the same. You'll have the ask here, and then they'll have, what version, which model do you want to look at? And the one, as of right now, at least, by the time you see this, they almost certainly may have different models, but be aware of which model that you are connected to. And there's some that you maybe just want a quick answer. And other ones are, and this one focused is on everyday tasks, where they'll have extended thinking that'll think longer for a complex task. So you could turn that on or off, whatever you want. Okay, and same too with Gemini. They have their own different choices of model. You want something that's thinking fast or thinking slow. And if you have a pro subscription, they're going to have one that takes a little bit longer for advanced math and coding. Okay, so that is the Microsoft Copilot. And then they'll have Notebook. We'll get into Notebook a little bit later, but that is a powerful tool if you've never used that before, where remember we talked about retrieval augmented generation, where this is what Notebook is that you can create your own notebook from scratch, and you can upload your own documents, and then it will search that specific set of documents and allow you to interact with it and build out other additional documents as well. We'll circle back at that later, but that's something that if you've never used it before, absolutely that should be on your radar. And then the final one is Perplexity. And that is the one I would argue, just as a starting point for an accountant, this is the one that you should start with. Perplexity, not ChatGPT, not Claude. I mean, they're all good. They all have their different strengths. But if I was to just pick one for accounting research, this would be it. Because it's grounded in the recency and accuracy. So it looks for the latest and best citations. It supports the supporting documentation quickly, and it's purpose-built for citation-based research. So it's really especially strong at confirming any kind of regulatory updates or legal developments. It's really powerful on that front. In fact, hey, we could go to Perplexity right now. So here's Perplexity, and this is what is available here. And one thing about Perplexity is that, again, they have their own drop-down menu, and then they also have a choice of different models. So depending on what version of Perplexity you have, I would recommend getting the Pro version, by the way. I would recommend that you get the Perplexity Pro before you get ChatGPT, because I think it's about the same money or so per month, like $25, $30 a month US. And then from there, you can use their own kind of default model, which is a sonar model from Perplexity, or they will also connect to these other large language models as well. You can connect to the Gemini model or ChatGPT or Claude or Grok. Okay, on here as well. So you can pick and choose what you want. And then here at Perplexity Pro, you could just say, tax regs in Ohio or Newfoundland or Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia. And here they'll have the citations that are right there. In fact, one great thing too about the Perplexity is just you can talk to it as well. I think it's got the best ability to communicate. So you're in Perplexity, and then they'll have the voice mode on here. Let's clock to Perplexity. Hey, Perplexity, you there?
Hi there. I'm right here and ready to help. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, sure. Just a quick question. So, why would you recommend Perplexity for accountants and finance professionals, perhaps even over the other AI models for doing any kind of accounting and finance research?
Perplexity is great for accountants and finance professionals because it provides up-to-date information quickly, verifies facts through web search, and delivers concise, reliable answers. It also helps summarize financial reports, analyze trends, and stay current with real-time data.
Okay, so just if accountants only had to pick one, I mean, ideally they're using these leading tools that I've talked about here, the Great Eight. But if there was just one I would recommend to do research in, it would be Perplexity. And the reason I would recommend is because of its accuracy and recency. Where something like a ChatGPT, it's great for creativity and fluency, but you have your ability to verify facts very quickly, and you can deliver these concise, reliable answers, and you're great at summarization as well. What say you on that?
That's a great perspective. The combination of accuracy, real-time fact verification, and concise summaries makes Perplexity a strong tool for finance professionals. It helps cut through the noise and deliver reliable insights fast.
Okay, the lesson from all that is the point being is that there is no single best research AI tool, although I guess you could make the case that Perplexity would be as a start, but realize that all are different and they have different personalities and different outputs. ChatGPT is great for creativity. Claude, long-form document. Gemini is that tight integration with Workspace and the Google search ecosystem. Copilot, of course, is synthesized with the enterprise workflow within Microsoft 365. Grok, the real-time signals, all the information that's on X, formerly Twitter, you're going to capture that through Grok that you won't get through the other large language models. Manus, which is recently bought by Meta. It's great. It's this automated research compilation where you give it a question, it'll come back with some clarifying queries, and then it will go out and then do its own research for you. And then they have Notebook, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, where it will interpret your own documents, right? So the point is, when you're using AI, you want to use ideally all of them or rotate through some of them. But at the end of the day, you are still responsible. You have to apply your own human judgment and have this executive approval over it, and then document ideally what steps you took and what information you got from where. I now want to talk about the concept of persona research and how this is a powerful tool that if you use these techniques, you're going to elevate yourself to a top tier researcher. And what it is it allows you to steer, to customize, to personalize, to ensure that that output that you're generating for the robot goes beyond surface level and is able to generate these expert grade situational intelligence. So here's the deal. When you go to, let's say, ChatGPT or any of the large language models here, you can click on, let's just say ChatGPT. And most of the time, let's just change just because of time here, let's click on instant. But by default, the robots are primed and programmed to give you a surface level answer, just a good enough answer. And the reason that is because all the developers and all the AI corporations, they want to minimize as much as possible the cost of running their business. And every nanosecond that a chatbot is engaged, that costs them money. So by default, they realize that most people, they don't really think, they just want a basic answer, so we'll just give them a good enough answer. But most users don't realize, like, no, if you take that extra time, you can get the robot to take on all these different personas. So here's what I mean by that. So with a persona, just how you prompt, and I'll give you the prompt in a second here, is that you can tell the persona to take on a specific brain, a specific role, a specific perspective. And remember that movie The Matrix, of course, where they put that chip in Keanu Reeves' head and he goes, whoa, I know karate. And that's what this is too, is that you could say, by just saying, hey, I want you to take on the role of a CFO. I want you to take on the role of a CPA. I want you to take on the role of a regulator. Whatever role, whatever brain, whatever perspective you want, you have that power to instill that, to manifest that from the robot. And then by doing so, that robot will then take on that personality, will manifest that tone, that stylistic polish, and it will be much better able to answer specific questions, and there'll be much more practical response. You're going to get to a whole nother level of practical insights. So it's so simple, but not people know how to do this. But here's the trick, is that whenever you're asking to do the robot any kind of research, is to say, hey, what is the best way and optimum persona to ask you about X? That's it. What is the best way and optimum persona to ask you about X? Okay, so here, we'll just compare side by side. So we'll have, again, just tax regs in Alaska. And then we'll click on enter. And then here we'll get that answer from ChatGPT. Okay, perfect. So here it is. But then, hey, let's try something else. Let's go ChatGPT, and we'll say, hey, what's the best way and optimum persona to ask you about X? In this case, let's say just say tax regs in Alaska, and then click on enter. So here, we're not asking for the answer. We're asking for what's the best way to phrase the question. And the reason you want to do that is because the robots are so smart, is that they have this awareness. They've been trained on every document, in every language, in every domain. And they have this awareness and ability to match patterns that no one human can have. So when you ask them, hey, this is the question I think I want to ask, but you tell me what's a better way to ask that question. And then it can come back with all these additional ways of framing that question to perhaps surface some insights that you didn't even previously know to ask. So in this case, we're not asking for the answer, at least not initially. We're saying, what is the best way to ask this? And it says here, act as a senior Alaska CPA and with 25 years experience advising corporations, including sales tax. So here, it forces this structure. It elevates that sophistication. And it's going to get you beyond these Wikipedia level answers. And then it gives you some other options here as well. Just to say, here's if you want planning business insight, if you want comparative analysis. So like, wow, it's incredible. So have the optimum persona for you. So let's click on this one. Okay, and then we'll click on this and we'll compare the answer with the surface level answer. So here we're act as a senior salt partner at Big Four, and here's a board level. Here's the Alaska tax regime. Okay, so here it's being built out. Here's the executive summary, detailed tax breakdown, corporate income tax, sales tax, Juneau property tax listed here, and the different risk analysis. How many sections we have? Just the executive summaries, number one, detailed breakdown, the risk analysis, the different comparisons, strategic planning implication. Okay, so this is the one that we got from the persona. Now let's look back at that vanilla answer. Like, it's night and day. This is very stock, very just really, really surface level. So we have tax regulations. We got 7 points plus one summary. I mean, it's okay as a surface level, but boy, when we say no, ask this as a partner at a Big Four firm, you're going to get a much deeper, better answer. And to be honest with you, if there's just one single tip you take away from this course, it's that. And it's so simple, is that just what's the best way at optimum persona to ask you about X, whatever it is that you want to do. And you're going to get to a much higher, better level answer than you would otherwise. Okay, so start experimenting with that and just do a quick comparison, do a quick A/B test, ask it the direct question, and then compare that with another thread where you ask not for the answer first, but you ask it for what's the optimum persona, what's the best way to ask it. You're going to find you're getting a much more detailed and more accurate, more complete, more current response than you would just through that surface level answer. Next, I want to talk about how you can take that persona research technique, like what's the best way to optimum persona, and you can elevate that, and you can create this always on-call subject matter expert. So here's how you would do it, is that in a number of the large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, and Google, for example, you can set up what are known as, they'll have these in ChatGPT, they're called folders, for example, where you can use it for a number of reasons. I'll just show where that is. So ChatGPT, and it serves as double duty on here. Let's just open up the sidebar here. So when you click on this, you can create what's called a project. So here we'll call this project, and we'll just call it AI research. Okay, so there's two things that you can do with the folders. It's number one is that you can use it just like you would in Windows as a folder. You can organize and put all your threads in there. Whereas if you don't do that in ChatGPT, you have all these threads on the side, all your different chats, and they can run into the dozens, hundreds, thousands. And you're going, okay, where's that one again? I can't find it. Well, what you could do here is that with the projects, you can say, okay, I want to put the threads that I talked about this topic, I want to put it in this one project so you could be organized. And there's a couple of ways you could do that. You can either, on the right-hand side, click on the button and you can say move to project. We'll click on AI research, click on that. Or you can, and you notice it shifted over there, or you could just drag and drop it to the left-hand side. So you can click on here and put it there. And these are all brand new additions to your folder. Okay, so that's the first thing you could do. The second thing that you can do with research is that you can give it some instructions. So you click on upper right-hand corner, click on project settings, and then here you could give it a name, and here you'll have different instructions. Okay, I want to show you how you could build that out. Well, before we talked about the Alaska tax regime, well, there's a slight variation on that, where what you could do now is that you could go to ChatGPT again, and you could say, okay, I want to now say, what's the best way? And what's the best way? And optimum persona to ask you to create instructions for a ChatGPT folder or Claude folder or Perplexity tasks or Google Gems. I'll talk about those in a second. But all are these features of folders that are consistent across different platforms. But just follow me here. That allow you to create instructions for a ChatGPT folder that researches Alaska tax regulations. Okay. So here, again, we're not asking it for an answer per se. We're asking it we're creating our own robot here. We're creating our own AI algorithm. And it's so easy to do that. Just what's the best way in optimum persona to create instructions for a GPT folder that researches Alaska tax regulations. Click on that. And then it's going to come back with, great question. You're not asking just about Alaska tax. You want to create this meta prompt that governs a whole research folder. Okay, so, and then here, and it comes back and it will work through its reasoning and says, here's the master prompt. Master instructions, the instructions must include, create a comprehensive research instruction framework for this ChatGPT folder that governs how Alaska tax regulations are researched. Okay, so again, in this case, we are asking it for those set of instructions, and I'll just say, okay, I'll just say create instructions. So, well, a couple of things is that number one, in this case, they have the instructions there that you can copy and paste over. But here they came back with, if you want an even higher level, you can have this additional context. So we'll just say, hey, create the higher level instruction. Higher level instructions. And we'll click on that. And we'll see. Perfect. Strategic. So below is the tax research folder. And here's the purpose of the folder: structure research environment for analyzing, interpreting, and monitoring Alaska tax regulations. But the point here is that this could be for anything that you want to imagine to research, any topic, any domain that you can imagine. You get the robot to say, okay, what's the best way? What's the best optimal persona to create instructions to research X? And then here we have the Alaska tax research folder. And here they have the purpose of this folder, the governing persona. And also they'll have the hierarchy protocol, the core tax domains to cover. So again, very detailed. and then the output structure. And then here it shows you what the output would be and the governance principle would be. Okay, so there's the instructions. So now let's create our on-call SME. So there's a couple ways that you could do this here. We could go to ChatGPT. Okay, and we'll create a folder for that here. Where is it here? So new project. And this, we'll call it the Alaska Tax Research folder. And we'll click on this, and we'll click on the project, click on project. There it is. Okay. Now, that's great. So if we wanted to, we could use it just to store files, or we could make it one step further, go in the upper right-hand corner, click on project settings, and then put under instructions, click on this, and you take these governing principles, and the different instructions there, and just copy and paste it over. Boom. And you're good to go. I mean, if you wanted to as well, you could add in additional files that are related to that topic. So maybe you're focusing on different types of international business research. You could not only create the persona, but maybe there's other background documents that you've already created on your own that you want the robot to look at. Remember we talked about that RAG retrieval tool? You can get that. So that's another element. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but as a start, you want to set up those instructions as an option. You could add in additional files so the robot can look at that for additional information. And now let's save this. And they also have the memory here. Yeah, that's blocked off here. Let's just save this. Okay, with just that one simple move, I mean, it looks innocent enough. You think, well, it's just a regular ChatGPT. No, it's not. It's this powerful tool. And I'll show you how this works. And I'll show you how it differs from a regular search. Let's say we were to go to regular ChatGPT and we wanted to get some information about Juneau, the city of Juneau and taxes. So we type in, Juneau taxes. And it'll come back with that stock answer. Here is how taxes work in Juneau: income tax, sales tax, property tax, business tax filing. Boom. I mean, it's okay, very surface level. But let's go to our robot that we've created, our subject matter expert. And again, we gave it these instructions and saying, hey, this is the persona we want you to take on. And we want you to always respond as a partner at a Big Four firm specializing in, here's your tone, free of speculation. And then you have to focus in on Alaska case law or Alaska revenue, municipal ordinances. Well, it's just a whole different level of expertise next. So anything you want to, that's why it's so important you're creating the subject matter expert. And it talks about the different, let's go back on ChatGPT here. So this is the persona we wanted to ask, right? And then it also comes back with this is how we want your answer to be framed, the comparative context, these other disciplines. It's just incredible how much powerful that you could do that. So here's the answer that we got from regular ChatGPT surface level, but let's just try it in our robot that we've created, our on-call subject matter expert. We'll click on Juneau tax and click on enter. And we'll just wait for a second here to click on. And note as well is that you get to pick the model. You could say, hey, I want an instant model or I want a thinking model. So you could even take it to another higher level. There's different gears. So here we have the Juneau tax overview. So same prompt, Juneau tax, what tax is, same prompt pretty much. So we got an executive summary. There's no sales, technical breakdown, the property tax, borough level, no income state tax, the risk assessment. Look at this. It's still ongoing. So there you go, is that when you are looking to do research and you want to create this consistent frame or an expert, you can do that using folders, right? So you're combining that persona technique. What's the best way in optimum persona to ask you X? But you're saying, what's the best way in optimum persona to ask you instructions? And then you put those instructions in a folder, and then that's always on. And you could turn to it. You're not starting from scratch. So that's a big time saver there as well. So here's the response. And this is what we got back from our own robot. Again, look at the depth, the insight that we got from this one versus the surface level one. Big difference. So just comparison, we could take this, and I just, as a curiosity, I could just say, compare your answer with this answer. And click on there. So I'm asking the robot, saying, what are 10 key differences? Are 10 key differences. So that's, again, another powerful technique that you can use. The executive summary is the alternative answer is more consumer-facing, numerically specific, less risk-oriented. My response was much more compliance-focused, more board-oriented. And here, in this case, it talks about how that instruction persona was better, more grounded, more detailed, more thorough than that surface level answer. Corporate income tax coverage, seasonal task risk, the mill rate specific. I mean, it just goes on and on here, right? So it's like the difference between, let's say, talking to a librarian, a reference librarian, not to knock reference librarians, they're amazing. They offer great expertise, but they have to know so much. Again, they know a lot about, they know a little bit about a lot. Well, not a little, but they have that structural awareness of a wide landscape of information where you could say, no, I want a CPA who's got dozens of years of experience or decades of experience. And that's what you get with this folder. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about Alexa tasks, but you can, any topic you could possibly imagine, you can do that with. Okay, another technique as well. So we've done this in ChatGPT, but you could do the same thing too in other platforms. They'll have in Claude, they have something too. Hold on here. Let's click on Claude A. And they too have their own similar types of tool called projects. So go to Claude, upper left corner, click on projects. And then here, click on new project and name your project. And we'll call this where are we here? The Alaska Tax Research folder. So we'll click on this, and we want to create our own Alaska. I just got to click too many windows going on here. So it's Claude, and we want to call it just like we did with ChatGPT. We'll click on this Alaska Tax Research folder, name your project, and then we'll say, what are you trying to achieve? And just again, research Alaska tax issues. Tax issues, and click on create project. And then here it is. And then what you can do here is that they have the instructions. So click on the instructions, and then there you can copy and paste over that Alaska Tax Research folder on there. And you're getting those same directions, that same persona. And we're going to put that in Claude. Okay, and yeah, we're good to go. And if you wanted to, just like with ChatGPT, you can upload those other PDFs, other documents, other text to help reference your answer. But here we'll try it again. Juno taxes. And we'll click on enter. And it has those instructions. It has those frameworks. It has that context. And it's going to come back with that structured answer here. So it's searching the web. It's going to come back here in a second here. So again, you have to be patient. You're not going to get those instant answers like you got from Google. But yeah, here again, it's following that same output. We said in our on-call SME, we want that executive summary and then the technical breakdown, the seasonal sales tax. And here, again, this is another angle from Claude. So you could create this on-call SME using this persona technique. You can use it in ChatGPT. You can use it in Claude, and you're going to get different answers in each one. Okay, and here they have so it's still building out its answers here. And the different gray areas and on. So again, a whole different take on there. And there's information in here that you wouldn't necessarily get in ChatGPT. It's another angle. And here's something I didn't open questions for the research needs. I didn't explicitly ask for it, but it came back with that. You could also do the same thing. You can create a similar on-call SME in Gemini too. They have something that's called gems. So you got ChatGPT folders, you got Claude folders, you got Google Gemini gems. They're all basically the same thing. And here, to create a gem in Gemini, go to left-hand corner, click on gems. And they have these built-in managers here that you can look at, but click on Gem Manager, and we'll call this the new gem. Okay, beautiful. We'll give it a name, and we're going to call this the Alaska Tax Research folder in Gemini. And you can put that there, and then describe it, just analyze Alaska tax regs. But again, it's any topic you could possibly imagine. You could throw in there and create your own personalized, customized, bespoke, on-call researcher. So here's the analyze the Alaska regs. And then the instructions, the research folder, and we'll copy and paste that over. And once you see this, you go like, why didn't I know about this sooner? Like, it's so simple. And we'll click on that. And then we'll click on save. And there it is. Click on start the chat. Okay, so now we've created our on-call SME. And let's just try it again. We'll click on Juno tax, just Juno taxes. And we'll see what comes up with here. Remember, this is what we got. This is what our customized folder that we got with Claude, and let's see what Gemini has to say. So again, it's this internal research memo, the executive summary, the technical breakdown, the property taxes, the risk assessments, like wow. Okay, and don't forget too that once you get that answer, you can take it in any direction that you want here. One thing I like to do is when I get that initial answer from an already expert folder or gem, as I'll say, hey, that was a level 1 answer. Give me a level 2 answer with more detail. Okay, that's a really simple search that can be very powerful. So it takes that initial prompt, it builds on that answer, and goes into a level greater, even greater. So you're going like 2 levels deeper. So not only do you have that expert lens, but now you're pushing that expert saying, okay, you gave me your stock answer as an expert, and that's better than 95%. But hey, take it to the next level. I want you to give me a more structured nuance, a more detailed memorandum. I want you to elevate that technical analysis and focus in on friction points or municipal audits or legislative shifts. And here it goes back with a much more detailed answer than before. Okay, so that's a very powerful tool. So the point being here is, one other thing as well, is that when you have these different gems that you've created here, so we've created our Alaska Tax Research folder. If you want, you can share that with other people. By default, it's locked down, so only you can look at it. But if you want, click on share, and then click on that, and that'll come up here a second. And then you can, right now it's by default, it's restricted, and then they'll have anyone with a link. And you could copy that link, and then you could put that here, and then anybody with the link will be able to access that. So you could create your own army of different research robots and share it with people in your firm or clients or anybody in your business chain. It's incredible. I've tried all three. I've tried ChatGPT projects, I've tried Cloud projects, and I've tried Gemini projects or Gemini gems. They're all different names, but basically the same thing. In my experience, I have found the Gemini gems to be the most thorough. But I mean, the models are changing so quickly. But as of today, when I'm doing this, the gems are. But the point being here is, I wanted to just show you that workflow, how you can create these on-call subject matter experts in the Claude projects, ChatGPT projects, and gems, and you have this always-on model now. You're now an AI developer. You're gone from using a chatbot to you're managing these digital assets, And you've created this scalable, digital bench of expertise. And you could build out not just one, you could build out 5, you could build out 10, you could build out 10, you could build 100. Whatever research task that you want to do, you can create that and customize that, prepare that using folders and gems. Next up is an incredible superpower that the robots have that doesn't even touch anything that's available now. And it's called deep research. And what these allow you to do is that you could create your own personal think tank. Like we talked about that persona instructions and those AI on-call SMEs. I mean, those are okay, but this is the next level of area of deep research. So you have now in the leading models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they'll have these ability to activate a deep research function. And the whole point of this deep research is that it will take on this Big Four analyst persona, and it will do this deep reasoning, this multimodal synthesis. It will examine on its own different articles or PDFs or images, and it will investigate and explore the internet on its own in these much more deeper workflows using complex logic and live global intelligence and with much greater quantitative rigor. Okay, here's how it works. And they're, again, quite simple. Everything's simple once you know how to do it. But you want to go on to ChatGPT, for example, here. And you go on to ChatGPT. And then here, click on the plus sign and make sure you click on deep research. Okay, so a lot of people aren't even aware that it exists, but you got to click on the plus sign, click on deep research, and make sure that card is activated. Okay, so it looks simple enough, but boy, it's like this super brain is now attached to ChatGPT. You've just highest gear possible, right? And you're now to blast off into a research adventure. And again, anything you could possibly imagine. Well, just to keep it consistent here, just say, tax regulations in Alaska. And, well, let's just what are the biggest, economic pain points in any jurisdiction in Alaska, and what are 3 solutions for each? Okay, and we'll click on that. Again, anything that you do, any topic, any research topic you could possibly imagine in any domain, put it in there and make sure you have that deep research button enabled. Okay, click on that, click on enter, and then it will come back with this card and will lay out its plan to research. So here it comes up with an initial plan, collect recent government, identify challenges, gather policy analysis. So you can click on that and you can edit that if you want to, and you can change it however you want. Or you could just say start. And just for time's sake here, we'll just click on start. Okay, now here is the biggest difference, let's say, with the regular ChatGPT versus the deep research, is that this is going to take some time. You got to throw it in the oven here, the research oven. And it could take anywhere from 10 minutes minimum, depending on the complexity of the question, to 30 minutes, sometimes even as long as an hour. So here it will show you, that progress bar of the research that it's doing. So there's just so much going on there. And again, it's following that workflow. And if you wanted to, you could click on update there, and it will just show you just some of their details where it is. But that is the main workflow for engaging the deep research tool here. And this is going to take a few minutes to build out here. But what you could do here, so it's not just in ChatGPT, is that you could do that in other platforms as well. You can invoke that super research gear and say too, like with Claude, you click on this, and then they'll have, in this case, it's not necessarily They don't call it deep research, but they'll click on just research. And you want to make sure extended thinking is on. So that is another gear, and you know what's on. You'll have that little card that's listed there. Okay, that's one tool. So you have that deep research there. And then you also have that with Gemini. And of all the tools, all the deep research tools that I use, and I use them all the time, Gemini is really good as well. Again, click on deep research, and you have that deep research tool, and you can throw that same prompt, what are the latest, well, what have we put in ChatGPT here? Just what are the biggest economic pain points in Alaska? And we could put that into Gemini as well. And solutions for each. So we'll click on deep research, click on that. And then it will come back with a research plan. Okay. And then I'll start, they'll have this drop-down arrow key here that you can download it on it. And it says, here's my plan to tackle that topic. And here, the drop-down menu, it's going to search for 3 distinct solutions. So it tells you here, if you want, you can edit this plan if you want to click on edit. Or you could look at this and go, okay, that's fine, that works, and I'll start my research. Okay, beautiful. So here, it's showing you what it's thinking, and it's showing its thinking as it's going along. I mean, that alone is a useful exercise where Gemini, it's doing this deep research, and along the way, it's showing you, hey, I'm mapping the economic landscape, identifying the structural hurdles. I'm strategy for solution strategy. And just instantly, it looked at research these different websites and uncovering these vulnerabilities and evaluating strategic responses. So we've never seen anything like this in the history of the world. This is incredible. And I look at this and I go, like, how amazing is that? And the reason I'm so in awe of this is because this is what I used to do. When I used to work for Price Waterhouse many moons ago, this is what we did. We do these white papers. We do all these deep research analysis for different corporate and business and government clients. And that's what we do. We'd sit around. This is actually before the internet, actually before personal computers here. I'm dating myself here. But, there was a lot of phone work, going to the libraries, meeting people in person. But now you could just do that instantly. And what used to take us weeks, sometimes even months, and cost tens of thousands of dollars. I remember doing one deep research report. It took over 2 months, and it was like over $100,000 contract. And now you could do the same thing, and perhaps better, and you could do it in literally 10 minutes for $25 with a subscription to ChatGPT or any of these other large language models. So that is amazing. And we're going to wait for these to bake out here a bit. But again, it takes a little bit of time on each one of these to go through. Okay, so you have ChatGPT, they have a deep research function. They'll have Gemini have a deep research function that you can use as well. Another deep research option too is Perplexity. They have their own deep research. And I should note as well is that depending upon the version that you have, in my case, all the tools that I'm using today, I have the business or enterprise versions of them. So you're not going to be able to access these, or there could be limited use cases if you're only using the free versions of these. Right? So this is where, if you're really serious about AI, and you should be, I think this is a worthwhile investment that you look at these different language models. And I would experiment. I talked about the Great Eight, and ideally you should have business subscriptions to all of them. But if you just want to pick, you could pick, let's say, just Perplexity as a start. But that the features of each will vary depending upon the plan that you're on. And so too with Perplexity, they'll have the plus sign, and here they have the deep research. Click on that, and then here you can add in that same problem. What are the biggest economic pain points in Alaska? What are the 3 solutions for each? And click on enter. And then it will come thinking, and it will come back. But the great thing about the deep research is that this allows you to get and analyze those major kind of side of the desk problems that you've always wanted to get to, or maybe these foundational structural issues that you've wanted to address, but never had the time to do, or you just don't have the budget to do this. Think about this. You now have, just imagine you have $50,000 to do a research project. And if you could hire a Big Four consultant, you had a $50,000 budget to do a project on any kind of research project on anything you could possibly imagine. Well, that's what you have now. People don't realize just with that one subscription, with you activate deep research, you are activating that Big Four consultant, and you'll get this very detailed, very meticulous, very thorough document that you would certainly pay tens of thousands, perhaps even more for, and you're going to get that in minutes. Right? Okay, so this is a step up above that persona tool, that on-call SME. There's the stock answers that most people look at. There's the persona searching that we looked at. There's the persona on-call searching, and that's going to elevate it even more. But this is next level, where it goes into great detail. The thing, though, is that this is the one that takes a little bit of time. And I say relatively, 10 minutes or 30 minutes. But one of the things, as a business person you could do is that now, what are your biggest problems that you have? Or just doesn't have to be a big problem. Any issue that you have is on your mind. You now could just go on to ChatGPT, go on to Gemini, go on to Perplexity, and just ask it that analyst questions. And if you wanted to, you could run multiple. It's not just one, and you could only run one at a time. You could have multiple tabs open on the same. You could have multiple tabs. You could have multiple deep research tabs going on ChatGPT, and then you can do all these searches simultaneously, right? I don't think people truly realize how transformational that is. And what used to cost you tens of thousands of dollars would take you weeks to accomplish. Now you could do it in 10 to 20 minutes. So in this case, we're looking at the ChatGPT. It's still being built out here. So this could take some time, but they've already done 272 searches. But here, this is the result that we got back from Gemini. And again, we looked at what are the biggest pain points, what are some solutions. And here it comes back with the Alaska Economic Resiliency Strategic Development, addressing core structural pain points and multi-tiered solutions. And then let's just look at the length of this thing. Like, whoa. So there's the problem. And then, there's the vulnerability crisis. And then there's the solutions. There's three solutions. Here is another issue, the affordability. And then here's three solutions. And it'll come back. And the seafood industry. I mean, isn't that incredible? You would, certainly for me, it would have taken, days, maybe even weeks to do a similar report. But now you could get that done in minutes. Absolutely incredible. So that deep research, activate that for any research problem that you want. Oh, another great thing too about Gemini too is that once you've created it, you go in the upper right-hand corner here, and then from that you could create a web page. You could create an infographic. You could create a quiz or different flash. You could add an audio overview to that if you wanted to, or just describe your own app. You just say, I want an innovative game that gamifies this. I want some tracking tool that looks at the other leading issue. You're only limited by your imagination on here. And then here at the bottom, it talks about all the sources that were used in the report, and then the ones that weren't used in the report as well. So they'll have a whole record of that, the thinking that the robot went through on there. So there's the report, and then there's the results, and then here is the analysis of what it went through. And this alone too, that's another very valuable thing. So what you could do here is that you could take this what the robot thought, and then you could copy that over, and then you could go to ChatGPT, for example. And here you're looking for like a meta-analysis. And you could just say here, this is the thought report, or just the thought activity report from Google Deep Research. And then you just copy and paste. This is what its thought process in resolving that issue. And you could just say here, what are 10 key lessons a human researcher could learn from this? So we're asking the robot, hey, robot, exactly, we know you created this report, but how did you do it? What was the thinking behind it? And then here, ChatGPT comes back with, here are lessons, starting with a framing hypothesis, anchor in authoritative sources early, look for structural contradictions, identify feedback loops, move from broad scan. So this is very useful where it just, as a research methods exercise, when you get a final report from any of these deep research reports saying, okay, this is the report that you got, but hey, how did you get there? What thinking did you engage in? How did you get from A to B to Z? And what lessons can you learn from that? So there's a lot of different outputs and lessons you can learn from the robot. And then, so that is the one that we got from Gemini. And then this is the one that we got from Perplexity. We asked it for the pain points and what are the 3 solutions is each. Perplexity, their deep research, like it's okay. But I find the ones from ChatGPT and Gemini are really, really good. They're really, really powerful. So here is Perplexity, and they have the pain points listed here. So the point being is that these are all, that's a whole nother gear. And again, this is going to take some time here. And this is where it could take as long as like an hour. So you got to be patient. This is something you might want to run over lunch, or maybe you could, at the end of work, you could say, okay, hey, what are the 10 biggest problems we're facing right now? Or what are some 10 opportunities we could look at, and just run them overnight or on a break. And you get the robots working literally all the time. How cool is that? So that is the power of deep research. Check it out. You are now have this institutional access to these expert analysts. And this is one incredible way that you can elevate yourself amongst the pack, is using these deep research tools to burrow deep into any topic you could possibly imagine. Another research superpower of artificial intelligence is that you can now program, and I use the word program. People think program and think, oh, I have to learn all this computer language. No, it's really simple, and I'll show you how to do it. Is that you can use AI, you can set up these scheduled tasks. Scheduled tasks. And what are they? They are these automated prompts that run on a recurring basis. Maybe you want to monitor a change in the market, or this product, or this stock, or this company, or any product, whatever you want, and you want a daily summary, you want to do a trend check, you want to do a research update, you want a reminder of, but just you want to keep on top of any topic that you could possibly imagine. You can do that in a number of the robots, and I'll show you how to do this. First of all, you go to ChatGPT, where we go to new chat, and then there, see, it's not as clear as it could be or should be, but here's how it works to set up a recurring scheduled task. You could just say, this is the syntax you have to use. You have to say every day, or every Tuesday, or every Monday, or every 2 weeks, but every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, or Eastern, or Atlantic, or Mountain, or whatever time zone that you're in, write analyze, or just give it a research task. Research latest, I don't know, crypto trends, and identify top key takeaways and monetization opportunities for a CPA in Canada, United States, anywhere, any jurisdiction you want. Let's just say in Missouri. Okay, so we click on, that's the every day at 9, but you can say every Tuesday at 6, or every second Monday. You have to have that linguistic framing, and then click on enter. And then what it does is that it thinks a little bit here. And then it's going to come back, hopefully, in a second here with this robot. Yeah, so it's creating a task. And you've done that when you see this prompt. It's called Pulse. Yeah, it's not as, ideally you could, they do have a pulse there, but you can't create it. Yeah, it's just, maybe they'll improve that in the future. But as of right now, this is the way you have to do it. See, every day at 9, or whatever time you want. And then you'll see this card that shows up here. And then there, you've created this recurring research task. So every day at 10, it'll look at the latest crypto trends and come up takeaways, clear monetization opportunities specifically tailored for a CPA in Missouri. And it will run automatically every morning. And then down the road, you can refine it. So here, you can click on, you can go to edit. And then here, you could ask it anything you want. You could say reschedule it or focus on another time if you want. But again, it looks innocent enough, but whoa, is that powerful? And that you can run this research task on any topic that you want and have the same, we talked before about the great thing about AI is that you can shape the outputs. I just don't want 10 blue links. I want a drop-down table menu. I want a checklist. I want a pros and cons. I want a list of monetization opportunities. I want a blog. I want a white paper. Wow. You can get the robot to do that every day that you want. Okay, we've created our recurring task or scheduled task. And then to see it, you click on View Pulse. And then you are taken to a section called Pulse in ChatGPT, and then you can access it on the left-hand side here. See this? Click on Pulse. And then here, they'll have that instruction you gave it. So you monitor crypto trends, and here it summarizes the asset you have. And then it's going to be every day at 9 o'clock. And then if you want to customize it down the road, no problem. You can implement that there. And you click on Enter. And then here, you can look at other examples you had as well. So monitor crypto trends. And here's some other pulses that I have on call. Just a heads up here. As of now, you're only limited to 10. You can only do 10 recurring tasks with ChatGPT. But that's huge. I mean, just to do one daily where you could say, analyze our competitor, analyze the market, analyze monetization opportunities. What are their biggest threats? What are we seeing that what are kind of below the radar threats or opportunities that we should be aware of that we're not looking at? Or what are some weak signal issues that we should be on our radar that no one else is looking at? I mean, it just opens up the world for uncovering new types of information. And it's so simple, right? You can automate all these processes. Okay, so you can do that. You can create a scheduled task in ChatGPT. You could also do a similar scheduled task process. You can also do that in Perplexity as well. So what you do in Perplexity is, again, it's not as straightforward. You got to navigate through. What you have to do is you have to put in your prompt first. So here we could just say, search for the latest, let's just say, urban retail grocery trends. Whatever top tax, finance, business, personal, travel, whatever you want, and it will do that recurring task for you for research. So here it'll do it'll do the search, and it comes back with the answer. Okay, and this will just build out a second or two here. So here's the same day results. Okay, and it comes back with these, the grocery trends, and you got to wait for it to build out here. So you look at this answer, and maybe you could refine it to wherever you want, make it longer, make it shorter, whatever you want. And here they'll have the different levels of responses. Okay, when it's done, look in the upper right-hand corner here, see the 3 dots, and you could click on create a task. So that search you just did, you could say to Perplexity, okay, I want to create a task from that. And click on task. And here you could say, hey, I want this to do every day or week or every month. And I want to do it at 11:10 p.m. or 1:30 a.m., whatever you want. And you could have an expiration date if you wanted to, or how do you want to be notified, by email, by a mobile? And then here you could pick which model that you want to use. They have the built-in one from Perplexity Sonar. But if you want, you could select the other models they have in their ecosystem. If you want, you could say, no, I want to use Perplexity just to use the Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or Grok. Okay. And then, hold on here. So we'll click on create a task, and then we'll click on, so daily at 11:10. We're going to save that. And then there's, again, we've created our tasks, settings in the upper right-hand corner. Boom, and they're done. So we'll get, in this case, an email from Perplexity every day at 11:10 with the latest news. And I know I've used this to I'm always constantly looking at new accounting ethical standards and risk management frameworks, and that to me has been incredible. I've been able to get all these deep insights and what's happened overnight or the past 24 hours. Incredible. I've never seen anything like that before. So you could do that in Perplexity. You could also do something similar in Grok. And in Grok, you go to the bottom left-hand corner, click on this, and then click on tasks. Click on tasks. And here they'll have start by creating a task, click on a new task. And again, once off, daily, weekly, whatever you want. And then it's the same concept. Pick a time, AM, PM, whatever works for you. And then you can click on your prompt, and then they'll have the different models. You can activate the expert model and then create 8 tasks. So in this case, you're limited. You can't create an unlimited number of tasks. You're limited. Each one is different. With ChatGPT, it's 10. With Grok, I think it's about half that. We'll create a task, and then there it is. So every daily at 12:08, it will search for the latest crypto trends and provide 10 key takeaways. And there's no records yet. Okay. And then when that is generated, here we'll just run a test. So it's going to track the results, and we're going to see a few minutes here. But the point is, again, you could create this reoccurring robot that will do this research for you automatically. And then you could also do the same thing in Manus. They have their own recurring task as well. You go to Manus here, and then click on More, and then click on Schedule Task. And then here, click on Schedule Task, and we want it to do, and then we'll click on Enter. And then it's thinking some more, and I want you to schedule a task. I'd like a few more details. Would you like this task to run? And we could just say, daily at 9 o'clock, daily at 9 a.m. And should this be a one-time task or recurring? And then you could just say recurring, daily. And how would you like the results? Via email, save to file, or other methods? Let's just say email. And you continue. So here we'll click on Enter. So it's thinking some more. So I appreciate the details. The scheduling tool. Here are the save options. And yeah, we're good to go on here. But that is another type of tool. So that is another great feature of AI that you can't do with Google, is that you can get the robots, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Manus, Grok, to create these scheduled research tasks that will work around the clock 24 hours to give you the latest updates on any topic you could possibly imagine. Another amazing research tool I want to talk about, although I do a whole other course on it, but just if you haven't heard of it, you absolutely should be aware of it. And it's called Notebook LM by Google. And it's this AI-powered research assistant that will help you understand and interact with your document. You could upload a PDF, text, link to a video, other inputs, and it will help you summarize that information. It'll explain these concepts in different ways, and it acts like your own personal research assistant. It is absolutely incredible what you could do with Notebook. So here's how it works. You go to Notebook, and then here I have like hundreds of notebooks I've already created. But here's how it works. So you go to Notebook LM, click on Create a New Notebook, and then from here you can upload a file, a PDF, a slide sheet, presentation. You could link to a website if you wanted to. You could connect to your Google Drive if you're part of the Google ecosystem. You can copy and paste over text, or you can just give it a link. So one of the things I'd recommend is just link to your own website. Link to your own website. And let's just, as an example here, let's just go to, let's say pwc.com. But you could do this for any website, your own website, a competitor's website, a customer's website, whatever you want. And then here you could click on this and then go to Notebook, and then you could click on that and then enter that there and hit enter. Okay, so that's one source. But here on the right-hand side, sorry, left-hand side, left panel, you could add up to, depending on what version that you're using, well, the free version, you could add up to at least 50 different sources, right? So what you're doing here is you're creating basically your own brain. Let's say we'll call this the PwC AI brain. The whole point of this is that you're creating your own workspace that you can interact with this customized, grounded content. Okay, and we'll just give it a name, the PwC AI brain. And it summarizes that information that's provided. And then here, you could start chatting with it. You could just say, what are the key services, PwC? Okay, so that alone is amazing. You're now taking any document, any set of notes, any financial statement, any PDF file, any YouTube video, you could upload that or just link to it in PwC, and already you could start talking to it. Okay, so that's just the one. That's just the chat, but that's just the start of that. That's one element of Notebook, is that you can immediately begin this text chat. But look at this. And this is just incredible what they've done here, is that on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, the right-hand panel, is that you could take it one step further. You could take that source and you could have one, you could have up to 50. If you have a paid version, you could have it in the hundreds. You could say, hey, I want an audio overview. I want a deep dive. I want a critique. I want a debate. Let's just create a deep dive here. Click on generate. So now it's going to generate a podcast of that content. Or maybe you want to create a video from that. Go to the video and you have different options, something longer, something short. Click on explainer and we'll click on, let's say, a white. You have the different visual style. So you can create not only just a movie, but you could say, hey, what type of video do I want to create? And we'll click on generate. And you want to create a mind map. You want to create all these different reports, briefing documents, study guide. Let's click on a blog post. So we'll create that. You want to create flashcards. You want to create a quiz. Look at that's incredible. A different infographic. Or you want to create even a slide deck or a data table. And it's all being built out here. And this will take a couple of minutes or so. But that's the point, is that it's this research assistant that elevates your work. You give it that grounded text that you have. And then from there, the robot will help you interact with it in text form. And then over and above that, you have a studio where you can generate all these other types of outputs where you could get different variations on that. And I'll just go back. So we've created our PwC brain here. So that's still being baking here. We could go on to a other site, and I've done all these other, Synovus Energy here. So what we've done here is, this was another energy company, and I created all these different audio outputs here, and we could have a video. And here's what that video looks like here. And
today, we're going to do something interesting. We're going to try and understand a massive energy company, Synovus, by looking only at how it presents itself to the world.
Isn't that incredible? So you could just give it a tax return, and it will create a video overview of that. Okay, but here is another one. It'll create a slideshow from that. That's incredible. And this is, look at this. This is like elite graphic design. And it will do that with your reports as well. Again, I didn't really specify I wanted this layout. It just knew that automatically to create that. So it'll create a video. It'll create an infographic. It will create, and these different audio tools as well here. They'll have, it's like a podcast.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're cracking open the corporate blueprint for Synovus Energy.
That's right.
We're using the
Okay, so you have this podcast, and if you want, you could download it as a MP3 file, or you can share that with whoever you want. And then not only that, you can interact with it. When it's finally generated here, I'll click on interactive, and then we'll click on play.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're cracking open the corporate blueprint for Synovus Energy.
And then for me to join the conversation, I just click on join.
News you sent to.
Oh, hey, I think our listeners got something to say.
Yeah, hi, this is Garrett, and I'm just doing a quick demo on the incredible power of Google Notebook to make your documents talk. So I was wondering if you could introduce yourself and just tell our listeners here all the great benefits that you offer.
Hey, Garrett, it is great to hear from you.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
I am the host speaker, and I'm basically that friend who gets really excited about diving into dense topics.
And I'm the expert speaker, here to connect the dots and provide some broader context.
We're here to make documents like the Synovus Energy blueprint actually talk.
That's the benefit we offer. We synthesize diverse information.
Yeah, we're taking all these complex components, their strategy, their operations, their financials.
And we break them down to show not just what they're doing, but why it matters.
Okay.
Right now,
we could go on here, but I mean, that is incredible. And if you've never tried it before, do so. This is mind-blowing what it can do. And the great thing, too, about Notebook is that it has a much less likely probability of hallucination, because it only looks at the documents that you provide it. So it's that ground sourcing. It only will create a audio overview or a video or a text based on what you give to it. So it's that walled garden technique. I do a whole nother course on Notebook. This is just so incredible. But I mentioned this here because if you haven't tried it ever, you absolutely have to. And if you haven't tried it in a while, try it again, because they're just adding new features all the time that make it an even more invaluable research tool. So here's a quick recap of what we talked about today. We talked about the AI search and how the different capabilities and superpowers you have, and they are superpowers that you have now compared to traditional Google search. The great 8 tools that you need to be aware of. It's not just ChatGPT. There's, Claude and Manus and Perplexity. And you need to experiment with all of them to see what results work best for you. We talked about the persona research, a very simple technique, but very powerful. What's the best way in optimum persona to ask you to research blank? And then elevate that. You could say, what's the best way in optimum persona to ask you to create instructions for a ChatGPT folder or a Claude folder or a Gemini Gems. And you have this on-call subject matter expert that you can talk to at any time. And it's grounded in that with that special expert lens. Deep research, that new AI superpower where you can use it to undertake and examine any topic with a lens of a Big Four analyst. Reports that would have normally taken you days, weeks, it would cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So now you can do that in literally minutes. Schedule tasks, these recurring tools that you can do to gather this recon intelligence. And then we looked at Notebook, and we wrapped it up with some key takeaways. And this is Garrett Wozni saying thank you so much for attending today. This has been ChatGPT for Advanced Accounting Research.